must have faith in order to please the Lord. And I'm so glad to be in the service with you. We're here worshiping God. We thank God for the testimonies we've heard. And guess what? There are more testimonies. You know, there are 29 New Birth members that have a fresh testimony. They're part of our business of the month, which is the New Black Wall Street. It's right here in Stonecrest, Georgia. Pastor Carrie, it's exciting and amazing to see what's happening over there. It's a mall. It's full of wonderful businesses, retail shops, fine dining, retail grocer that is just absolutely amazing and has gourmet food. There is so much over there, and there are 29 New Birth members that had a dream, had a vision, had an idea. They had faith in God, and they put their faith in God, and they put some works with it, and they now have a miracle of a business. You might have the same kind of dream. You're an entrepreneur, and you want to see God bring your business to life. I encourage you to sow into someone else's business. So visit the New Birth Business of the Month, New Black Wall Street. You can find those 29 businesses on our website, wearenewbirth.org, and you can go over there from Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 8, and check them out. Sow into their business, and I believe God can do it for you as well.
Amen. Listen, we know the one thing that those entrepreneurs know is that prayer is what we do. There is no way that you can launch a business. You can't launch anything without prayer being the foundation and pillar of your life. The word of the Lord tells us that man ought always pray, not sometimes, but man ought always pray and not faint. And for that very reason, we are standing in front of our beautiful prayer wall this morning. Listen, so many of you have submitted your prayer requests. We have been praying for you personally. We have had our intercessors praying for you because we know that in order to do business as unusual, that means that our prayer life has to be unusual. It has to go to a greater level. Listen, New Birth has the opportunity to do so many amazing things in the community and around the world. Pastor Stokes knows this because she leads so many of those things. But can I tell you this? The one thing that we know for sure, that there is nothing that we would be able to do unless our house was covered and saturated with prayer and the prophetic word that goes forth. And so I want to give kudos and highlight two of our incredible ministries, our intercessors and our prophetic ministry, both of which ensure that we are covered, that we are prayed for, and that the word of the Lord is going higher over our life. Listen, we're in front of our prayer wall this morning, and we want to encourage you to continue to submit those prayer requests. We want to make sure that you know that we are praying with you, that we are interceding for you, and that we are believing God to give us more than we could have ever imagined this year. I would even challenge you not to just pray for yourself, but lay down even your prayer life and begin to pray for somebody else and watch how God magnifies that for you. Listen, it is our personal commitment in this house to amplify our faith, but we are also amplifying our prayer life. Listen, we love you. We are praying for you, and we are excited about what the Father is going to do. Pastor Stokes, we are getting ready to go higher in our service as we continue to walk by faith.
Yes.
I believe, Lord, I believe, Lord, I believe. Everybody say, I believe. Come on. I believe. Hey, I believe. You ought to type that on the screen. Lord, I believe. Come on. Lord, I believe. Everybody say it in your home. I believe. I believe. I believe. Lord, I believe. I need some believers. Lord, your faith is getting stronger right now. Saying, I believe. I believe. Lord, Lord, I believe your word is true. Come on, everybody say, hey, I believe your word is true. I believe it so much. I believe you said it in your word. That settles it in the earth. Start singing it over yourself. Say, I believe your word is true. I believe there's so much out of you. I believe you said it in your word. need somebody to say that. Come on. I got faith that'll conquer anything. That's the kind of unusual faith you need to have here. I got faith that'll conquer anything. For those of you in the building, use your voice and say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. You ought to get up off that couch and sing it real loud in your room. I've got faith that'll conquer anything. You ought to type it on the screen, say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. Come on, everybody, lift your praise. I've got faith that'll conquer anything. Put your harmony on it, find your harmony and say, I've got faith. Hey, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. Somebody ought to lift your praise and say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. I can't hear you raise your worship, say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. I've got it, I've got it, I've got it, I've got it, hey. I've got faith that'll conquer anything. One more time, say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. I can't hear you raise your worship, say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. Somebody ought to lift your praise and say, I've got faith that'll conquer anything. I've got faith that'll conquer anything. I've got faith that'll conquer anything. Yes, sir. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. It is the evidence of things not seen. I want you right now to type in the chat, I believe. I don't know where it is that you are, what it is that you're believing God for. Pastor Turner and Pastor Stokes are at the prayer wall. We want to come into agreement with you. What are you believing God is going to do before this month is over? I believe you can live cancer-free. I believe you are not going to be paid minimum wage. I believe, just like the testimony from earlier, all of your student loans are going to be paid off. I believe, just like our dear sister who wrote in, whoever has been missing shall be found. I believe God is going to turn the obstacles into opportunities. I need you to type it right now. I believe. That thing is resonating right where it is that I am. I hope that you feel it. This is our month for unusual faith. And what is necessary for you to do is simply to believe. I need you to get it in your spirit. I need you to get it in your heart. I absolutely believe that the worst is behind and the best is yet to come. Do you know what I believe? I believe that God has plans for you to prosper and to be in good health. I believe that no weapon that is formed against you shall be able to prosper. I believe everything that was taken is going to be returned back to you 20, 40, 60, 80, 100-fold. I believe no matter how dark it is, it won't always be night. It's got to be a bright side, and it's coming while you're in this worship encounter. I believe that our worship experience is going to be a blessing to your friends and to your family. As a consequence, I want you to invite them right now electronically. I want you to be our digital missionary. I need you to text somebody. I need you to call somebody. I need you to please text somebody, call somebody. All I need you to do is call somebody, text somebody. That's all I'm asking you to do is text somebody and call somebody. Tell them we are live right now, and I believe what is happening at New Birth is going to be a blessing to your life. Something amazing is afoot, and I believe that God is going to shift some things for you to have an unfair advantage. That's what favor is, an unfair advantage. You don't know how great favor is until you are facing a disadvantage. A whole lot of thievery is taking place in America this week. We saw how it is that Senate and Congress could not come together to secure the vote. Here is the hypocrisy, is that every person who voted against it got there through voting. And John Lewis's Voter Rights Act was killed summarily this week in Washington, D.C. Do you know what that means? That they have axed out Sunday soul to the polls. They have made it illegal for people to bring you water while you're waiting in line. made it illegal that nobody can bring you a chair even if you are elderly or sick, have made it so right here in the state of Georgia that many polling stations in rural areas have closed, so people have to drive miles away. They voted against voting being a national holiday. That's what they did. But I'm telling you, when God is up to something, it doesn't matter what anybody else says or what anybody else has done. Our ancestors and our elders marched and sacrificed for our right to vote. And we are not going to stop until it is secured. They tried to steal it. But I'm telling you, there's always something that God does in restoration for that which is lost. Maybe you forgot that when Jesus was crucified, he was crucified next to a thief. And right on the other side of him was a robber. You can stand even when you know who took your stuff. You can stand even when you know who's guilty of trying to take your joy, trying to take your peace, and trying to take your sanity. God is going to add it back to you, and I'm believing he's going to do it this week. I read something that absolutely had me dizzy. It was about a robbery that took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't know whether you heard about it. A 16-year-old was killed working at Burger King. Her and her coworker hatched an idea that they would, in fact, arrange for their dad to come through the drive-thru at 11 o'clock, just when they were getting ready to close, point a fake gun, and they hand over the money. They were planning a fake robbery. Little did they know that the manager of that Burger King in Milwaukee was already strapped. And he had no idea about this insidious plot. And so when the dads came around to steal from Burger King, he pulled out a real gun. Regrettably, the 16-year-old who worked there was killed when she was a part of the plot to steal. Can a man rob the King of Kings? Can a man rob God? They do it by stealing tithes and offerings. It will never benefit you taking from God. I was talking to one of my dear covenant brothers, Pastor Glasper, last night from Memphis, Tennessee. Here's what he said to me. He's never said, here's what Pastor Glasper said, he never said that there is a blessing for lenders. It's only a blessing for givers. He said, watch this, that lenders are just as stressed as takers because they got to keep up with who they loan the money to. But a giver, when they do it with pure hands, when they do it with a clear heart, they're never trying to track it down. It always comes back to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you, when you give to God, you ain't got to wait to see how it's going to come back. All you know is that when it comes back, it's going to be mightier and stronger than how it left your hand. My pastor used to always say, it'll leave your hand, but it will never leave your life. Can you do me a favor? Do an assessment of how much you owe God just for this week. Not for your life, just for this week. Can you believe it? That every bed in Georgia is filled at the hospital, but you woke up in your own bed, breathing on your own? Can you believe it? That this is the highest unemployment that America has had in over 50 years. I don't care whether you like your job. I'm asking you, do you have one? Do you know how much food insecurity is taking place right now? And yet here you are in a pandemic gaining weight. That's the kind of favor that is on your life. God will bless you in ways that you do not know. I want you to come into covenant with me today. I want us giving because I can't steal from the God that gave me my life. I can't take away from the one who gives me clean air to breathe. I cannot praise him enough for making me COVID free. I'm thankful unto God that God has covered me and my family. I can't tell you how spoiled I am that both of my parents are alive and healthy. I cannot tell you how much God has blessed me that this year my family has not had one funeral. I'm not bragging, I'm testifying. about how good our God is, whether you are abased or whether you are abound. I need you to do me a favor, please. I want every person to give, and I need you to do it right now. I want you to tithe. Whether it's through PushPay, whether it's through Givelify, whether it's through Text to Give, I want you to give, knowing that God has been too good for me to have to negotiate what it is that I give to him. God says, if you bring your 10% into the storehouse, I'm telling you, it's coming back to your house, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You can go to our secure website, wearenewbirth.org, go to Zelle. You can do it through Givelify, PushPay, but I just need you to do it, because what nobody ever told you, giving is worship. Did you hear what I just said? Giving is worship. It ain't just clapping. It ain't just screaming. It ain't just dancing. But when I give to God, I'm giving God glory. I'm giving God honor. And I'm giving God praise. And so I am asking you right now, worship him through your giving. Praise him through your giving. Magnify him through your giving. Because if it had not been for the Lord on your side, for real, where would you be? I want you to hear this spoken word about faith, because we are going to exercise unusual faith, and I believe it.
Faith. It's more than just believing without seeing. It's more than just a stirring or a feeling. Faith, it has a deeper meaning. See, faith is profound. I mean, it's what raised a man up from the ground. It's what tells us we are no longer bound to these shackles and these fears. Faith tells us that God is always near to the brokenhearted and to the torn. Faith tells us that we have been reborn. Faith is like an anchor that keeps us grounded when we feel surrounded by the chaos and the noise, and when we start to lose our identity, trying to be what society wants us to be. That's when faith calls out to us loud and clear, reminding us of why we are here. Faith, it gives us purpose. That every time our heart beats in our chest, we are reminded who created it. And if you lack faith, if you have your questions and your doubts, I'm here to tell you today that that is okay. That doubt is not the opposite of faith, but the opposite of faith is self-sufficiency. It's thinking that we can live our life alone, not in need of the throne. We seek the fame, the glory, and to be known, and maybe control of your life is what you seek. But the only reason why you have your life is because a man thought you were worth the sacrifice. See, faith gives us peace. Faith gives us rest. Faith will change your life, I confess. Faith tells us not to lose heart. Faith gives us a brand new start. Faith tells us we will never go hungry or never go thirsty. And faith tells us that Jesus will give us his unconditional love and mercy. So when life puts a mountain in front of you, faith tells that mountain to move. And when the walls of Jericho feel like they are surrounding you, faith says those walls will come crumbling down. And when you feel too weak to walk, faith says get up and go. See, having faith is more than just saying I believe. It's a commitment. It's vowing to live a life that is different. So I ask you today, I have faith. Are those 3 words enough for you to change your life around? Are those 3 words enough for you to live a life that's profound?
The first Sunday in this series, Pastor reminded us connected to faith is hearing and speaking. And today, wherever you are, I need you to begin to speak things into your life. Speak to the mountain and the mountain will move. Whatever it is, begin to decree over your life. Begin to decree over your children, over your finances, over your health. Just begin to speak into your atmosphere this morning. 'Cause I shall have what I decree. Yes, I believe. It belongs to me. I shall have Wherever my atmosphere is, I will
speak into the atmosphere.
I need everybody to help me say it. Come on, everybody say it. I shall have what I decree. Yes, I believe. It belongs to me.
It belongs to me.
I shall have what I decree. Hey, yes, I believe. It belongs to me.
It belongs to me.
So I will
Speak into the atmosphere.
wherever I am, I will.
Speak into the atmosphere.
Come on, everybody, I need you to help me this morning. Everybody say, speak,
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 Speak.
hey, speak,
speak,
to that mountain,
speak,
to that situation.
speak.
It's gotta respond. It's gotta respond. It's gotta respond. Declare it. Declare it. Put the word on it. And it's gotta grow. Put the word on that seed. You place the seed in the ground. It's gotta produce. It's gotta produce. It's mine. It's mine. Whatever I say, it's gotta happen. It's mine. It's mine. Hey, it's mine. Say, speak. Believe. Say, speak. Believe. Say, speak. Believe. Say, speak. You gotta believe. Declare it. Speak to that thing. Use your voice. Use your voice. It's voice activated. It's voice activated. It's voice activated. It's voice activated. Put the word on it. Put the word on it. If you need to be healed, speak to the word. The word says, by his stripes I am. By his stripes I am. By his stripes I am. Speak to your body. Speak to the situation. You must. You must. Speak into the atmosphere. Somebody use your voice and hey. I believe. One more time, say, speak into the atmosphere. I believe. One more time, say, speak into the atmosphere.
You have to speak that into the atmosphere. An incredible God deserves an incredible praise, but here it is. For something unusual, it requires unusual faith. And that's what we've been trying to drive it into your spirit and into your mind and into your heart this entire month, that God is going to do something unusual for you. Next Sunday is our Emerging Generations Takeover. Our young people, our millennials, our Gen Zs are taking over our worship encounter. I want you to be intentional to make sure your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your best friends' children are tuned in on next week. Truth of the matter is, they ought to be on every Sunday. but I really want to underscore the importance of what it is that we have in mind in our packaging and programming for our emerging generations on next Sunday. I'm grateful for all of you who are worshiping with us literally from around the world, from Germany, from Kenya, from South Africa, from the Ukraine, from South Carolina, from Mississippi, from Tennessee. Thank you so very much. New Birth is one church in two locations. We're in Stonecrest, Georgia, and we're everywhere else. And so wherever else it is that you find yourself, know that you are a part of our family. We are what the UN calls a global church, a global church. We're global while being local. We're global while being local. And to really accentuate that, I am so pleased to have with me in worship today, Barack Obama appointed Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook, an amazing, powerful, influential, global woman who has represented the body of Christ literally around the world. She's worshiping with us today. Give God some praise for Ambassador Cook, who is with us on today. Would you join me at Matthew's Gospel, chapter 8? Matthew, chapter 8, verse 8. Matthew 8, verse number 8. The centurion replied, "Lord, I don't deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed." The centurion replied, "Lord, I don't deserve for you to come to my house, but if you'll just send your word, whoever is sick in the house will be restored." I want to preach for a little while today using as a subject, I can't find the remote. I can't find the remote. Would you type that on the screen if you've ever lived that, ever experienced that, ever had that happen to you? I can't find the remote. There's no greater trigger of trauma than coming home from a long day at work, plopping down into the couch in order to disengage with the intention of watching mindless hours of television, from Roku to Hulu to HBO Max, Disney Plus, Netflix. And then to your shriek and to your horror, you can't find the remote. You start tossing pillows, screaming for the kids to come down to testify against their co-defendants. You start searching in places you know that you haven't been because you are trying to find the remote. Now, mind you, there are buttons on every television unit, but we have become so wedded to that handheld device that we act as if we cannot function without it. The gadget itself is designed to operate another device from a distance. It was constructed for the convenience of the utilizer, so that they can control, hear this, what is difficult for them to reach themselves. That's my thesis statement right there. The control, the remote control, was constructed to make it convenient for what it is hard for you to reach. The consumer points the remote, which sends the digital coded pulses of infrared radiation to the object of its focus. However, it is rendered ineffective if it is not pointed towards something that is receptive. In all actuality, I need you to hear this and hear this well. In all actuality, our faith is a remote control, because in order for it to work, it's got to be pointed towards something. I've got to ask you, what is your faith pointed towards? There are all kinds of remotes. There's remotes, hear this, for garages. Why? Because you need something to open a bigger door than what you can manage. You can't lift the garage door yourself, so you need what? A remote. They're remote controls, hear this, for your AC unit. You need that remote. Why? Because you want to change how you feel. They're remotes for cars because you want it to start before you get in it. There's remotes for beds because you want to change your position because you're not comfortable the way that you are. Most prominently, there are remotes for televisions. And the remote for the television, hear this, is because you want to change what you see. When you don't like what you see, what do? You use the remote. Its object, however, doesn't respond. If the object doesn't respond, it doesn't mean that the remote is broken. If the garage door doesn't open, if the AC doesn't change, if the television channel doesn't shift, it is not that the remote is broken, it is probably that the battery is dead. I have to ask you a critical question. What then is powering your faith? In Matthew chapter 9, the disciples tried to set a young man free from demonic possession, and they did it to no avail. Jesus came right behind them and was able to get it done, and the disciples were confounded and asked, how come it didn't work for them? He said, it's because your battery is dead. This can only happen with prayer and fasting. Maybe your faith isn't working because you ain't praying about what you believe. My dad used to always say, Bishop John Richard Bryant, little prayer brings little power. Some prayer brings some power. Much prayer brings much power. I need you to have that. Little prayer, little power. Some prayer, some power. Much prayer, much power. Are you praying about what you want? Or are you just worrying about it? Many of you have talked to everybody else, but you have failed to talk to God about what you are believing for. We sing together, we shout together, we dance together, but I want us to pray together. Lord, help me to see what I am believing. It's not just prayer. But if right now, while you're watching me, if you'll open the back of your remote, you'll notice that 9 times out of 10, a remote requires AA batteries. In order for you to have faith, you need a double portion. Elisha said to Elijah, his mentor and his pastor, I want double what it is that you have. I want that to rest on my life. And I speak to those of you who are tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, those of you who are watching the replay, I am declaring this year that you receive a double portion of what everybody in your family ever received. I don't want you to have just enough. I want you to have more than enough. I've been in Atlanta now. It's hard for me to believe. I've been in Atlanta now for 3 years. And I'll never forget, after it is that I moved here, all of my boxes came in and I started unpacking. I got frustrated because they put my televisions on the wall. And I opened up the boxes, went through all of them, turned them upside down, and after my TVs had been stationed and placed in the appropriate place, I couldn't find the remotes. How was I going to work the TV without the remote? Went to my neighborhood Best Buy. I shared with them my predicament and my plight, that I got TVs but don't have a remote. I left them somewhere in Baltimore, but I ain't got time to go all the way back there to get it. I don't even remember the model number. Said, Pastor Brown, don't even worry about it. There's something new out that we want to give to you today. It's called a universal remote. The universal remote, hear this, it don't even matter what the maker is. It doesn't even have to match. It doesn't even have to be produced the same year. The universal remote will make everything in your house respond. I need you to understand that when you have the universal remote, you don't need a whole bunch of other ones. You just need that one. Your faith has got to be a universal remote. That I'm not believing God for just one thing, but I need God to handle and respond to several things. Whatever you ask for in his name, it shall be done. He didn't say just for that one area. I'm going to stretch the bandwidth of your belief system. I want you to type down what you are believing God for. And hear this, I want it to be more than just one thing. Don't ask God for just one as if two things is going to burden him. As if three things is going to stress God out. As if four things is too overwhelming for heaven. God says your faith is a universal remote. Many of you, you can't find the remote. Hear this. Because faith demands that you give up control. Say that again, Pastor. Faith demands you give up control. Faith is an unconscionable proposition. Why? Because it forces you not to be in charge. Many of you do not have faith because you think you are God's partner. You think he needs your buy-in, and you really think you can micromanage the master. When you have faith, you can't dictate how it's going to turn out. When you have faith, you can't even say when it is going to happen. When you have faith, here's the uncomfortable part, you don't even have authority over God, who God will use to get it done. The original faith remote controls that were designed in 1953, the original remote controls had prongs on it that you extended it and you manually turned it so that you could turn the television. Remote controls did not take on popularity, here it is, until the 1970s when they became stringless, when it wasn't connected to anything. Your faith has got to be at a place, I trust you with no strings attached. I trust you, here it is, even if it doesn't go my way. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said that our God is able. And even if he doesn't do it, he's still able. I need to know, how is your faith set up? Do you believe God on the contingency of what you want? What if what you want is not what God wants for you? Do you have faith? If in fact they never come out of hospice, will you keep faith? If you never move out of that apartment, will you keep the faith? If your child got to do the full prison sentence, will you keep the faith? If the stuff that was on your credit report stays, I've got to trust God when I can't control it and I can't keep my hands on it. Isn't it amazing that faith requires you to lift your hands up, saying, not my will, but your will be done. Faith is what it is that Jesus had to say while hanging on the cross. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. Why? Because my hand's got a nail in it. Can you trust him when you can't touch it? Can you trust him when you can't handle it? Can you trust him when it's too big for you to manipulate? That's real faith. I've been echoing all month long. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen. I want you, because you're in your living room, I need you right now, whatever it is that you do, pick up that remote. Turn up the volume on it. I got to show you something. Turn up the volume on your remote. You're going to see something happen that you never even paid attention to. When you pointed that remote towards the television, here it is, and the volume increased. Infrared signals came out of the remote and connected to your television. And your eyes never saw the infrared rays, but you saw the results. So when we talk about what eyes cannot see, it is God having control, and I can't even see how he did it. Helen Keller said, the only thing worse than being blind is not having vision. It should not be lost on you today that the most common miracle that Jesus ever performed was helping blind people regain their sight. He did that more than any other miracle. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. often would say, faith is taking the first step when you can't see the staircase. Our late apostle, Bishop Long, used to always say, watch this! And he said it before he spoke it. Sometimes God is saying, watch this, and you don't even know what he's getting ready to show you. Watch this! How it is I'm going to make the crooked places straight. Watch this! How your blood pressure is going to be regulated. Watch this! How I'm going to make your enemies your footstools. The miracle that I want to bear witness, however, today can even be read in Braille. It's in Matthew chapter 8. And in Matthew chapter 8, a soldier runs up on the master. And when he runs up on the master, he says to him, I have got a servant at home who is paralyzed and they are in great pain. Maybe y'all just missed that. He says to Jesus, I have a servant at home who is paralyzed and in great pain. Y'all are a slow class. Let me see if I can help you. I got a servant at home who is paralyzed and in great pain. Y'all got to forgive me. All I got is the Bible. I need you to see what happens. When you are paralyzed, you lose feeling. So how has he lost feeling and feeling pain? Because when you lose feeling, it's painful. I need to know how it is that you're sitting there with the full dexterity of your limbs, but you act like you don't feel nothing. It don't matter. It is what it is. How did you lose your capacity to forgive? How have you not given yourself permission to be happy? How do you talk yourself out of every good thing as if it's too good to be true? You are paralyzed and you are in pain. What is amazing is that this man in this text says, Jesus, I need you to come for somebody who is in my house, who is in pain and they cannot move. And maybe they cannot move because they're in pain. I want you to come into faith today for somebody who is stuck, somebody who is not getting any traction, somebody who is not making any progress, somebody who keeps going backwards as opposed to moving forward, and they are in pain because of their position and their plight. And all the more what I need you to see is that this soldier is having faith. Here it is, and he doesn't need it for himself. He needs it for somebody else. What is your level of selflessness. I want you to come into faith for somebody who is going through. Whoever it is right now, I want you to type their name on the screen. I'm in faith for them because I don't know what they're going through. I don't know how they must feel. I'm in faith for them. I'm in faith right now for Regina King. I don't know what it's like to lose a child to suicide. I'm in faith for them. I'm in faith for somebody right now who ain't even speaking to their child. I'm in faith for them, for somebody who has not been able to get past what has happened to you. I am in faith for them. I'm in faith that you ain't gonna be on medication for the rest of your life. I'm in faith for you that the hip replacement and the knee replacement will be unnecessary. I am in faith for you that you are not going to have to be on the organ donor list. I am in faith for you that whatever it is that you are asking God for, it is going to happen. And I need you to hear what Jesus says in response to him. Do you want me to come to the house? Do you want me to come to the house and heal them? I think I just lost you. I'm looking to stretch your faith because I want to know how many of you believe God is on the way to the house of somebody who is afflicted. God is on their way, on his way to their area. Wherever you are in this room, wherever you are watching online, would you just speak your own zip code right now? I want you to type your zip code right now. I want you to type your zip code right now, because I declare and decree that 100,000 angels are en route to the house of somebody who needs angelic intervention. God is getting ready to move on your behalf, not because of them, but because of your faith. God said, do you want me to go to the house? Do you want me to go to the house where the alcoholic is asleep on the couch and never made it to the bed? Do you want me to go to the house and intervene on behalf of that child that is traumatized because they're seeing their mother being beaten to a pulp of a life? Do you want me to go to the house where incest and molestation is taking place? Do you want me to go to the house for those who are burnt out being a caregiver? Do you want me to go to the house for those that can't afford physical therapy? Do you want me to go to the house of those that are getting ready to be evicted? Do you want me to go to the house for that man that is struggling with PTSD? Do you want me to go to the house for that boy that is secretly on drugs? Do you want me to go to the house for that husband that is addicted to pornography? I'm headed to the house. The Lord says, do you want me to come to the house? And I need you to hear what that servant said. Says, I am not worthy for you to come under my roof. And nobody ever told us that in our text today is the first sighting of a remote control. He said, you ain't gotta go. Just send your word. And when you send your word, healing is getting ready to happen. Can you believe the audacity to tell God you ain't got to go? Just point in my direction. It ain't my mother, it ain't my father, it's me, oh Lord. And I'm standing in the need of prayer. I need you right where you are to just point in any direction, because a remote cannot work if it is not focused on anything. I'm pointing my remote to the U.S. Capitol, to those who are trying to stop the John Lewis voting rights bill. I'm pointing my remote to seniors who are dying at an inequitable way of COVID vaccine. I am pointing my remote to sub-Saharan African countries who don't have access to it without the whole nation going into debt. I'm pointing my remote to the Republic Republicans who are trying to use filibusters to disrupt democracy and liberty and justice for all. I'm pointing it at the inspector of your house so that you will not lose value in your home. I'm pointing it at the doctor who said you cannot survive it. I'm pointing it at your credit report because this year you will be a homeowner. I'm pointing it to the child's report card because before the year's over, they will be on an honor roll. I gotta ask you, whose report will you believe? I will believe in the report of the Lord. You've been pointing at everything else, but I need you to point the remote at yourself and say, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. And the Lord said something that I needed you to hear this morning. It will be done just as you believed. I need somebody, this is your declaration of faith. It will be done. I need to hear somebody declare that out loud. It will be done. Come on, your faith has got to raise the volume. It will be done. Come on, say it out loud. It will be done. As it is in heaven, so shall it be in the earth. It will be done. Whatsoever you loose in heaven shall be loose in the earth. It will be done. Your faith is your remote. And the remote doesn't work unless you point it at something that you want to see change. I don't need you to scurry around your house. I got good news for you. I found my remote. Because I found my remote, God told me to tell you he's getting ready to change what you've been looking at. Whatever it is you've been seeing for the last 22 months, God said, point your remote and watch me start shifting stuff. You don't believe it because you ain't ever been there? You ever seen a family with no food? And that might be your family. But this is your last season standing in line at the king's table. Because you get ready to go from being a recipient to being a servant. All God is asking you to do is change what you've been looking at. Have you ever seen an eviction notice? You can only see an eviction notice if you're paying rent to somebody. But God said you are going from being a renter to being an owner. Have you ever had a family member in jail? God says I'm getting ready to shift them, that they're coming out of jail and they're going to live in the prophetic witness that I have spoken over their life. Have you ever been to court? God says I'm getting ready to speak your name in the courtroom, that you are coming out as more than a conqueror. Have you ever had anybody that's been sick in the hospital? God said they shall not die, but they shall live to see the salvation of the Lord. You got to point your remote at a grandmother that's sick, that a daughter that's dying, a father that won't get out of bed, a friend that has given up hope. Have you been in the last 22 months to a graveside and you're sick of funerals? I don't want another family member dying of cancer, dying of strokes, dying of diabetes. God said if you don't like what you've been looking at, take your faith that is powered by your prayer, point it at the situation, and turn the channel just one last time. Because when you turn it, you're going to see one last sign. And the sign reads, and you shall live happily ever after. The joy of the Lord is my strength, and the strength of the Lord is my joy. I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. I dare you to look at whoever's in your living room and tell them, I see you in your future, and you're already looking better, 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 better than you ever been. For today will be the best day of your life. Change the channel. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I once was blind, but now I see. Through it all, I learned to trust in Jesus, and I learned to trust in God. The last time they saw you, you were broke, busted, and disgusted. But how you like me now? I'm in the best season of my life. How did you do it? I changed the channel. I'm stronger, I'm better, I'm wiser, and I never would have made it, but I didn't like what I see. So I said, like the blind man, touch me again. I dare somebody to lay hands on yourself and shout out loud, touch me again. Touch me from the top of my head to the sole of my feet. I feel better, so much better ever since. Change the channel on your faith system. Change the channel for what you are believing God for. You can't control it, but God is in charge of it. I want you to lift up that hand, because if you lift up your hand, you can't control the remote. He said, send your word, and it's getting ready to happen. The word is being sent forth to your house today, and to the house of whoever you care about, the house of whoever it is that you love. Here's what's amazing. You ain't even got to go over there. Just send the word. It is not just for physical healing, but there are people who are in emotional anguish, who are in psychological torture, who are in spiritual warfare. And God is getting ready to shift it. The enemy meant it for evil, but he didn't know God had the remote. I don't know how many of y'all are shouting about it in this room. God said, if you praise me, I'll change the channel right now. If you worship me, I'll change your bank account right now. If you give me glory, I'll shift your credit score right now. If you glorify me, I'll change where you live, and I'll do it right now. Lift up that hand. Old song, Thomas, I want you to play. We don't sing it that much anymore. It says, I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender. Lift that hand as high as you see yourself going. I'm lifting them up because I'm telling God, I'm not in charge of this. I can't handle this. This is not where I thought I'd be the first month of the year. But God, you got this. This is not how I raised my kids. But God, you got this. I'm trying to do everything, and it just ain't working for me. It just ain't moving, just ain't kicking. God, I give it over to you. I surrender. I surrender all. Lord, I lift up before you every person with lifted hands. I pray that, Jesus, you take the wheel. Drive them to their destiny. Drive them to their place of purpose. Drive them to where they are supposed to be. Drive them into sanity. Drive them into peace. And God, if you will, drive them into holiness. Not our will, but your will be done. And those of you who are prepared to surrender your issues to the Master, would you give God praise for it right now? I said, would you give him praise if you're prepared to surrender it? I want to open the doors of the church. Isn't it amazing how much faith you got to have to join a church that's in a city you don't live in? How much faith is that going to require for you to be under a pastor whose hand you have never shaken? Can you imagine that God is calling you, you ain't going to believe it, to join a church remotely? Can you believe that God has so conspired for your breakthrough, that God has this kind of self-confidence? He says, I'm going to heal you. Even when you ain't in his house, he'll send the healing to your house. I'm believing that the hand of God is resting prominently on your circumstance, on your situation, and on your life. I implore you by everything that is in me, you need to let go and let God. You need to join this church. You need to become a partner. You need to be where it is that you can be led and you can be fed. I'm telling you, after today, you ain't ever going to look at that remote control the same. Because you realize whatever it is that I need God to do, I can't reach it myself. The prescription for all of us is if you just confess with your mouth, if you believe in your heart, it is by that rubric that you shall be saved. Here's how convenient it is. You ain't even got to walk down here. You ain't got to worry about people looking at you. You don't have to worry about people judging you. You can do it right there from your own home. I want you to believe God for it. I want you to trust God for it, because I believe that he can. I believe that he will. 7 is the number of completion. And that's what I've been feeling in my spirit over the last 4 days, that God is getting ready to end some things. He's getting ready to give you closure, getting ready to give you finality. I'm going to challenge every person that can. If you can hear my voice, I want you to come right now. I want you to sow a seed of $77. I need you to do it right now. Saying, God, this is the end of me being blind. This is the end of me not recognizing where you are in my life. This is the end of me doubting. This is the end of me trying to be in control. I want you to sow that seed of $77, PushPay, Givelify, do it even on Zelle. Even if you have to do it on our secure website, I'm challenging every person to give a seed of $77. I'm going to thank you on last week on how it is that you tied in to what it is that God was doing because of your graciousness. On your behalf, New Birth, we sent Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson and Rainbow Push $10,000 on this week. And I'm thankful that you gave tangible evidence that you believe in the work of the struggle, but you also trust your church to do it. I want you to give that seed of 77. I want you to do it right now. I want you all week long to keep reciting Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Here it is the evidence of things I cannot see. Make sure that you're a part of it. If there's something you need God to help you see, I need you to send it into our intercessors right now at prayer@newbirth.org. Prayer@newbirth.org. God is going to help you to see some things. Hear this, not just about your situation, but you're going to see some things about yourself. I want you to know your pastor loves you. I'm praying for you, and I can't wait to hear your testimony after you drop the remote and let God take control. Stay tuned so you can find out everything that's happening here at New Birth.
Hey, family, and welcome to New Birth. I am more excited because I got a chance to do it not once, but 2 times down with my family. We're your hosts. I'm Pastor Kervance Ross.
Dr. Ross.
I'm Kelly Rose Ross.
And we're here with this week's announcements. All month long, our focus has been families. Thus why my family has been able to bless you with these announcements. So from our blessing of the Bloodline Revival, which blessed our socks off, all the way to our EG Takeover, January has all been about legacy.
Save the date for the following events. Did you accept the challenge? You have the power to change your financial future. Join our 52 Weeks of Saving Challenge by texting 52 Weeks Savings to 71441. Everyone is encouraged to participate.
That was a great announcement. I think I'm going to participate and I'm going to be a part of it. But I need you to know, group therapy is back in session. Family, you got to be excited. We are back in person and online. Join us on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Register early for our next sessions in the MPR studio. Space is limited. Tuesday,
January 29th is a special day. We will have a baby dedication service. If you would like to participate in that service, or you know a New Birth member who would, visit our website at www.wearenewbirth.org to register your child.
Our EG Sundays are officially reloaded, also known as Children's Church, also known as Sunday School, is in full swing. That means parents, you'll have the option to drop your child off at the chapel and trust that they are being fed spiritually at their level. Register your child today at wearenewbirth.org.
this section is jam-packed. I need your attention. Saturday, February 4th, the King's Table Food Bank is officially back. We're preparing to meet you with groceries on that Saturday morning. And if someone you know is struggling with food insecurities, tell them New Birth is the place where you need to come and get your groceries. Food is distributed, though. First come, first served basis, so don't be tripping. It's Valentine's Day, and on February 14th, we're having a poetry and jazz night for singles. I know it sounds exciting, so I want every single in the building. For more details, don't ask me. We got a website just for you. Go to it. You should know it by now. Say it with me. wearenewbirth.org.
Oh, shall I stay? Would it be a sin? Oh, if I can't help falling in love with you.
If this is your first time visiting New Birth, we want to say welcome. We pray you have enjoyed service today.
We want you to stay connected to our ministry, so please text NB Connect to 71441. That's NB Connect to 71441.
What is it again?
NB Connect to 71441.
This has made my whole life. I got a chance to do this with my family because it's all about family. I need you to know we got the best customer service in church. So if you need anything, and I mean anything, don't hesitate to ask one of our member partners or our ushers, because you know your church is mean, but our church is nice. That's why you're here, and you ought to ask twice. This one is for you.
Remember, our vision is simple.
Engage, equip, and empower. We love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Have a great week.